These helped me get my first internship opportunity and my first job right after university because of that, those resumes don't get picked up by the recruiters. What's up YouTube, it's Shivansh here. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are doing well. So after quitting my full-time job in Canada just a few months ago, I started on this journey to find my next full-time job. And once I updated my resume, prepared my LinkedIn profile and did some initial prep for the interviews, I started applying for jobs on LinkedIn, and surprisingly enough, in just 1 month, I was able to get 2 job offers. Now, whether or not I'll be taking one of those jobs is a separate story, which we'll talk about in a different video. But the main thing to note here is that the reason why I was able to get 2 full-time job offers in such a short span of time is the resume that I used. So if you're also struggling to find a job in today's tough job market, then don't worry. In this video, we'll be going over the exact resume that I used to apply for these jobs and that got me these job offers, so that you can also draw some inspiration from it and prepare your resume accordingly. And towards the end of this video, I'll also tell you the 2 major reasons why your resume might be getting rejected. So make sure to watch this video till the very end. Before we begin, please make sure to hit the like button and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, so that you don't miss out on any important videos from my channel. And also make sure to share this video with your friends and family so that they can also benefit from it. With that being said, let's start this video. Alright everyone, so here is a copy of my resume, and right off the bat, the very first thing that you'll notice here, it has a very simple formatting. I'm using a font that is simple and easy to read. I'm not using any colors. I don't even have my image or my headshot on this resume because it's not required at all. I know that some people back in India do add their profile picture to the resume, but for Canada, it's obviously not required at all. And the formatting also is very consistent. You can see that the headings have been bolded and the paragraphs are not bolded. And for every section, I've tried to include bullet points just to make everything super clear and super easy to read. And I've also bolded some keywords here, especially in my work experience section, because I found these keywords to be very relevant to the jobs that I was applying to. So when a recruiter is looking at my resume, they'll be able to quickly figure out the relevant keywords that already exist on my resume based on the job profile that they're hiring for. So let's start from the beginning. At the very top of my resume, you'll see that I have my name written in bold letters. And this is very important because it'll immediately tell the recruiter whose profile are they actually looking at, so that they don't have any confusion whatsoever. And then after that, on the left, I have some space for my home address, my city, province, and my country. So this is also important because this will tell the recruiter what area are you actually living in, where you are based at, so that let's say if you're applying for an in-person job or like an in-office job which is not fully remote or hybrid, then they'll be able to gauge, will you even be able to travel to the office or commute to the office on a daily basis based on the location that you have on your resume. Similarly, if you're applying for jobs in Canada and you're not actually based in Canada, then this will also tell the recruiter that you might not be present in Canada yet, and based on that, they might decide not to proceed with your application. But the things on the right hand side here are even more important. For example, the very first thing that I have here is my phone number. Now, this is important because whenever a recruiter needs to reach out to you, especially for an initial call, that's the number that they're going to call at. Similarly, your email address is also extremely important because some recruiters prefer to send you an email before scheduling a call with you. So make sure to have your email address over there as well. And then I also have my LinkedIn profile as a hyperlink. Now, this is important because if a recruiter wants to look at your LinkedIn profile for some additional details about your work experience or about the skills that you have, then they can quickly go to your LinkedIn profile, check your profile, and make a decision based on that. So the very first proper section of your resume is going to be your education. And as you can see, I have 2 sections here, one for my bachelor's degree and one for my grade 12 exam. But for my bachelor's degree, I've clearly mentioned what exact course did I study, when did I start that program, and when did I actually graduate, and what college or university did I attend. Similarly, for my grade 12 exam, I've also mentioned the school and my percentage and when did I actually graduate from my high school. Now, 2 things to keep in mind here are always include your latest qualification first. So since I did my bachelor's degree later on, so that's why I've included it first on the list. And the second thing is, it's always better to include at least one educational qualification, no matter how long ago you acquired that. And at the same time, it's not really important to include every single educational qualification that you have, because as you proceed forward in your life and your career, your older education qualifications are no longer that relevant as compared to your latest education qualification. And another reason why you should include your university or the degree that you got is because this can can also be a great topic of conversation when you're having a behavioral interview, because they might have also been to the same college or the same university, and you might have something in common over there, which would definitely give you an edge in an interview. Now let's move on to the next section, which is skills. Now in my opinion, skills are the second most important section of your resume, because this is exactly where the recruiter will be able to see what exact skill set do you possess and whether you have the right set of tools and knowledge required for this specific job profile. And since I'm a software engineer, I've divided my skill section into very specific categorical bullet points related to specific technologies and tools that I've worked with, that I have experience in, so that the recruiter can easily make out whether I have a specific skill or not. For example, the first two bullet points over here are about the different programming languages and the databases that I have experience in, and the next section is about the different AWS services that I have experience with. Similarly, I have a section for infrastructure tools, CI/CD tools, templating libraries, observability tools, collaboration tools, etc. And depending on the type of job that you're applying and the field or the industry that you're in and the skill set that you possess, make sure to update this skill section to closely match the job profile that you're actually applying for, because that can significantly increase your chances of getting a recruiter call. And if you're confused about what you should actually put on your skills section, and if you think that you don't have too many skills to actually put on here, then I would ask you to, one, do some research on what skills are actually required for the jobs that you're trying to apply for, and two, try to gain those skills by taking some free online courses on YouTube or even some paid courses on Coursera or Udemy, etc. Understanding what tools are required for your specific industry or your specific job profile is extremely important, because only then you'll be able to acquire that knowledge and use that to get your next job interview. Now moving on to the most important section of your resume, which is going to be your work experience. Now for writing a work experience section, there are a few things that you have to keep in mind. The very first thing is that your work experience section should always be in reverse chronological order, which means that your latest work experience should be the very first one on the list. This is important because when a recruiter is reviewing your profile, the very first thing that they want to look at is what was the most recent job that you had, what were your responsibilities, what did you achieve in that role, and what technologies did you use. And that's why when you're writing a work experience section, the very first thing you should mention is the position or the title that you have, followed by the company that you worked at, along with the start and end dates for that specific job. And then you can see that I have broken down all the responsibilities and all the things that I've achieved in that specific role into separate bullet points, so that it's very easy for the recruiter to quickly skim through my work experience. Now, when constructing these bullet points, I try to keep two things in mind. One is, for each of these bullet points, I try to follow the format of what did I achieve, what impact did it create, and how did I achieve it. For example, the very first point here is that I enhanced developer productivity by creating internal development tools using Python and Bash. And what's even better is to somehow quantify the impact that was generated by you in that specific role. So for example, in the second point, I say, reduced infrastructure costs by approximately $1 million per year by migrating Concourse CI pipelines to Kubernetes native Tekton. So depending on the type of work experience that you have and the job profile that you have, you should try to quantify your achievements and try to put that on your resume, because that would have a huge impact on your credibility and the type of work that you've done in the past, so that the recruiter can have more confidence in you when they're actually looking at your resume. And the second thing to note when constructing these bullet points is to include as many keywords from the job profile as possible on your work experience section, because that would once again showcase that you're well versed with those technologies, those tools. For example, if a job that I'm applying to requires me to have some knowledge about Python or Kubernetes or CI/CD systems, then all these relevant keywords are already on my resume, and that will definitely give me an edge over all the other candidates that probably don't have those skills that are required for that specific job. To be very honest with you, the very first page is usually the most important page of your resume, because most recruiters will only look at the very first page of your resume, and hardly any recruiter will ever go to the second page. So that's why it's extremely important to include all the major things, all the most important things on the first page itself, which includes all of your skills and your latest work experience. Now, sometimes if you have a number of years of experience, your work experience section might spill over to the next page, which is completely fine. But the most important thing to note here is that the most important parts of your resume should always be on the very first page itself. Now, moving on to the second page of my resume, at the very top of the second page, I've clearly mentioned my name on the right hand side and also my phone number and email address on the left hand side, so that if the recruiter is interested in contacting me, then they can quickly do so. And then after that, I have the next section here, here, which is projects. Now this section is something that's nice to have, but it's obviously not required, especially as you get more experience in your career. However, if you've had some really cool projects under your belt, whether it's your capstone project or your group projects or any of your personal projects, then I would highly recommend you to add those to your resume, because these can be some great topics of conversation both for your technical and non-technical interview rounds. So for example, I built a virtual drum kit for my capstone project, so I've included that. I developed an Android app, and I also built an online shopping website during my college years, and I can definitely say that these helped me get my first internship opportunity and my first job right after university, because these were the things that the hiring managers and the recruiters were really impressed by. So if you're a fresher, then you should hands down include a project section, and even if you're an experienced professional, it doesn't hurt to have a project section on your resume. Now this next one here is summary of accomplishments. Now this one is once again optional as well, and in this section I try to include any of my achievements that I'm actually proud of, anything that can actually boost your profile or your resume, any scholarships that I got or any awards that I've received. So for example, here I've mentioned that I have a strong social media community of 150k followers on Instagram and YouTube. Similarly, I have a certification in data engineering and big data from Coursera, so I've added that. Similarly, I've also had a bunch of awards and scholarships during my university years, so I've also included those just to prove my merit. And the next section that I have is for volunteer experience. So in this section, as the name suggests, I've included any relevant volunteering experience that I've had in the past. For example, I was a note taker for 2 students during my university years from 2014 to 16, and these students needed specialized support. I also volunteered at the Engineering Expo at University of Alberta. Similarly, if you've had any relevant volunteering experience in the past, then I would highly recommend you to create a section for that and add that over there, because that can also be a great point of conversation, and that can also give you some extra credit for, contributing back to the society and helping others. And the last section here is any additional information that you want to provide to your potential employer. For example, I've mentioned that I'm eligible for being a registered EIT or engineer in training in any province in Canada, and then I have a G driver's license for Ontario. Now this last one here is not important at all, but some job descriptions do include that you need to have a valid license, so that's why I've included this. But just to reiterate, all the things that I've mentioned on this second page, whether it's projects, summary of accomplishments, volunteering experience, or any additional information, all these sections are optional, and if you don't want to include any of these sections, feel free not to include them. But obviously having these optional sections on your resume can have a positive impact on your job application process. Now one question that comes up very often here is that I'm just a fresher, I don't have any work experience, or I don't even have any internship experience, so what should I put in the work experience section? Well, in that case, what you should do is you can completely omit the work experience section if you don't have any work experience whatsoever, and replace that with your project section. If you're a fresher, obviously you won't have much relevant experience, then in that case try to have as many good projects under your belt as possible, and then showcase them on your resume during your interviews, so that you can prove to your potential employer that you have all those skills that are required for this job, and that they will not be disappointed if they hire you. So there you have it, guys. This was an overview of my resume that helped me get 2 job interviews in 1 month. Now let's talk about the 2 biggest reasons why your resume might be getting rejected, and how you can actually increase your chances of getting that first interview call. Now the very first reason why most resumes get rejected is because the resumes are extremely long. So as I told you that the most important page of your resume is the very first page itself, try to consolidate all the important information on the very first page. But some people have 3, 4 or 5 page long resumes, and because of that, those resumes don't get picked up by the recruiters, because most recruiters only have about 30 seconds to skim through your resume and then quickly make a decision whether they want you to proceed to the next round of interviews or not. And if you have an extremely long resume, then no recruiter is going to look at the entire resume, and because of that, they won't be able to gauge how good of a candidate you are, and that's why you might miss out on that opportunity. So try to restrict your resume to max 2 pages. If you're a complete fresher, then it should be 1 page long, but if you have a number of years of experience, then it's okay to have a 2-page resume at max. And the second biggest reason for rejection is not including all the relevant keywords from the job description on your resume. From all my past job application experiences, the one thing that I've realized is that it's extremely important to tailor your resume towards the job that you're actually applying for, which means that your resume should actually include all the relevant keywords that appear on the job description for that specific job. I always try to make sure that the resume that I'm using at least has a 70% match on all the keywords that show up on the job description for the job that I'm actually applying to. If you start doing this, if you start tailoring your resume towards the job description, then you'll start noticing that you'll get a lot more first interview calls just by doing that. I've also made a short video on how you can create a Harvard style resume by using the keywords that Harvard recommends you to add to your resume, and just doing this can significantly increase your chances of getting an interview call. I'll add a link to it, so make sure to watch that video as well. So that's it guys. I hope you guys found this video to be useful and you got some insights into how I create my resume and how I go about my job search process. If you have any questions, then let me know in the comments below and I'll be happy to answer them for you. You can also reach out to me on Instagram at Shivansh Singla 119, and if you haven't already, then please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss out on any important updates. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.